Bryan Kohberger guilty in Idaho murders. Unanswered questions remain. The shocking case of Bryan Kohberger, who admitted guilt for the brutal murders of 4 University of Idaho students, has left many questions unanswered. Questions that continue to haunt the investigation. What drove a man with a PhD in criminology to commit such a heinous act? Why did he erase all digital traces of his crimes? And why was the murder weapon never found? These are the questions that linger long after the trial concluded. But here's where it gets controversial. Despite a flood of new evidence released by authorities, the truth remains elusive. Kohberger, a 30-year-old former student, entered a rented house in Moscow, Idaho on November 13, 2022, and killed 4 young women: Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves, Xana Kernodle, then Ethan Chapin, without leaving a trace of his motives. Even with access to advanced forensic tools, investigators were unable to pinpoint a clear connection between him and the victims. One of the most puzzling aspects of the case is the absence of a murder weapon. Despite extensive searches and the involvement of the FBI, the knife used in the killings was never recovered. Soil samples from Kohberger's shovel matched a riverbed near Moscow, but detectives couldn't narrow it down to a specific location. Obvious questions like, where's the knife? And what did he do with his clothing? Still remain, said defense attorney Joshua Ritter, who highlighted the frustration of law enforcement. The case also raises uncomfortable questions about Kohberger's behavior before the murders. New documents revealed disturbing patterns, including frequent visits to the victim's home and strange social media activity. However, even these clues didn't provide a definitive link to the crime. The prosecution team has no ideas and does not seem all that interested in finding out, Ritter added, suggesting a lack of urgency in uncovering the truth. The trial itself was marked by emotional moments. Judge Stephen Hippler, who spared Kohberger from the death penalty, called him a faceless coward and urged the public to move past the mystery of his motives. In my view, the time has now come to end Mr. Kohberger's 15 minutes of fame, the judge said, emphasizing the need to focus on justice rather than speculation. Yet, the case continues to spark debate. Some argue that the lack of a motive is a red herring, while others believe it's a sign of deeper psychological issues. And this is the part most people miss: the fact that Kohberger's actions may have been driven by a combination of factors we can never fully understand. As the legal system moves forward, one thing remains clear: this case will forever be a puzzle with answers that keep eluding us. Idaho murders. New details after Kohberger's life sentence revealed. True crime breakdown. The chilling details surrounding the 2022 murders of 4 University of Idaho students have come to light in newly released documents, painting a harrowing picture of violence and unanswered questions. The case, which shocked the nation, has been described as both senseless and deeply personal. But what makes this story even more haunting is the behavior that preceded the crime. Behavior that some might call odd or even suspicious. And this is where it gets controversial. Could these warning signs have been spotted earlier? Bryan Kohberger, a former Washington State University doctoral student, was sentenced to life in prison after pleading guilty to fatally stabbing Kaylee Goncalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin in their off-campus home. The plea deal allowed him to avoid the death penalty, but also opened the door for authorities to release troves of previously undisclosed information. Among the documents are grim revelations about the brutality of the attacks, the moments leading up to the discovery of the bodies, and evidence suggesting an intense struggle inside the residence. When police arrived at the scene, they were met with horrifying sights. In one victim's bedroom, officers noted blood smeared across furniture, walls, and floors, indicative of a violent altercation. Xana Kernodle, found face down in her underwear and covered in blood, had suffered over 50 stab wounds, according to autopsy reports. Similarly, Madison Mogen bore facial injuries so severe that she was nearly unrecognizable. Kaylee Goncalves' body showed signs of defensive wounds, while Ethan Chapin appeared to have endured significant trauma. These descriptions bring into stark relief the sheer savagery of the crimes. But how did the night unfold? Bethany Funke, one of 2 surviving roommates, recounted hearing noises that initially sounded like fireworks. She later learned from her roommate, Dylan Mortensen, that someone dressed in all black had been seen leaving through the back door. Despite feeling uneasy, neither immediately called 911, partly because they assumed it might be a prank or miscommunication. It wasn't until hours later, when they realized something was gravely wrong, that Funke dialed emergency services after spotting Kernodle's lifeless body through her slightly ajar bedroom door. Adding another layer of intrigue, documents reveal that Goncalves had expressed concerns about being followed weeks before her death. Surviving roommates recalled her mentioning eerie encounters, including seeing a shadowy figure outside their home. While investigators haven't tied Kohberger directly to these incidents, such accounts raise unsettling possibilities. Could there have been missed opportunities to prevent the tragedy? Another puzzling detail emerged from an interview with one of Kohberger's friends, who noticed scratch marks on his face and knuckles around the time of the murders. When questioned, Kohberger claimed the injuries stemmed from a car accident, a claim that remains unverified. Additionally, a Tinder match of Kohberger's came forward, recounting a chilling conversation where he asked her opinion on the worst way to die. Her response, death by knife, prompted him to reference a specific type of blade, a K-bar, which prosecutors allege he purchased online prior to the killings. This exchange left her so unsettled that she cut off contact with him entirely. Despite these revelations, major mysteries persist. Investigators have yet to uncover the murder weapon or identify a definitive motive linking Kohberger to his victims. During sentencing, Judge Stephen Hippler referred to Kohberger as a faceless coward, emphasizing the irrationality of the crime. He argued that seeking answers behind Kohberger's actions risks giving him undue attention and power. Yet, many are left wondering, why did this happen? Was it random malice, calculated intent, or something else entirely? As we digest these shocking revelations, one can't help but ask, what does justice truly look like in cases like this? Should society focus solely on punishment? Or should we also demand clarity on the psychological factors driving such acts? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's dive deeper into this complex issue together.